Shalom, Holy Blossom. I hope your Seders were uplifting for you. I hope that you found the retelling of our story from our people going from enslavement to freedom a powerful metaphor for how we can find our own way now from oppression and fear to confidence and freedom once again. I know many are particularly worried about the younger generation, which is called upon to carry a burden which we wish we could carry for them. In Israel, young men and women in uniform are on the front lines of this war for more than 6 months now. May God watch over and protect them. And closer to home, across North America, students are often intimidated and confronted with anti-Israel and anti-Semitic ugliness in person and online. So I'd like to speak with them today. I'd like to share a Pesach teaching that I learned this time last year from Rabbi Karen Thomashow. Many of you remember her well. Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, is the biblical book of love poetry assigned to Pesach. Our sages understood that the romantic verses were expressions of an intimate and loving relationship between God and the Jewish people. There it is written in chapter 2, "My dove, in the clefts of the rock, hidden by the cliff, show me your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely." How do our sages interpret this romantic verse from Shir HaShirim? In the 7th century in Israel, just south of Hebron in today's West Bank, the school of Rabbi Ishmael taught that this verse was a parable to help us better understand the exodus from Egypt and what to do when in a time of crisis. When the Israelites left Egypt, to what could they be compared? Rabbi Ishmael says, to a dove that was fleeing from a hawk. The Israelites, like a dove, sought to take cover in the cleft of a rock for protection, but they saw that there was a crevice in the cliff, that in the crevice of the cliff there was a nesting snake. So the dove was not able to enter the cave where the snake was, and neither was the dove able to reverse its course. She couldn't retreat because the hawk was now stationed right outside the mouth of the cave. The dove is trapped. So what does she do? She began crying and flapping her wings, singing her song as loud as she could so that the owner of the dovecote would hear her cry and come to her rescue. So it was for our ancestors, the Israelites. They were fleeing from a hawk named Pharaoh. They ran to take cover by the sea, but were unable to descend into the sea because the waves were swirling and threatening them like a snake's nest. They were unable to reverse their course because Pharaoh and his army were swiftly approaching. So what could they do? According to the book of Exodus, chapter 14, Vayis'u v'nei Yisrael et einehem. The children of Israel lifted up their eyes. V'hinei Mitzrayim nosea achareihem. Behold, Egypt was pursuing them. V'yir'u me'od. The Israelites were very much afraid. Vayitzaku v'nei Yisrael et Adonai. And the children of Israel then cried out to God. God heard their cry of Mi chamocha ba'ilim Adonai and came to their rescue. So how do we decode this metaphor, this parable? Rabbi Eliezer teaches that God's voice is the voice of one lover calling out to another, encouraging his beloved, reassuring her, saying, "My dove in the cleft of the rock, you in the hiding places of the cliff, show me your face. Let me hear your voice." When the Israelites were caught between a rock and a hard place, when they couldn't advance and they couldn't turn back, when the raging sea was before them and Pharaoh's chariot rushing towards them, they found another way. They found another direction. They lifted their faces up, Godward, and they sang, and the sea parted. So it could be for us now. So many of our students on campus feel like that dove caught between a rock and a hard place. It can feel like there's nowhere to advance and there's no going back either. It can feel risky to speak out and risky to remain silent. It can feel risky to trust other people and risky to isolate ourselves in a bubble. And so we mustn't forget that there is another direction. Look up. At such moments, God says to us, look up, lift your face. Let me see your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is lovely and your face is beautiful. This is my prayer for each of our students now. You are not alone. Your rabbis and teachers, your parents and grandparents are with you. There are fellow students, fellow Jews whom you may not yet know, who are also with you. And there are trustworthy people and allies that you haven't yet found, but they're there for you too, including some teachers, professors, administrators who can be a great source of reassurance and encouragement for you now. And I want to remind you there is also another direction. Not only look around you, but look up. Listen to the still small voice of the divine encouraging you, reassuring you, saying to you, lift up your face and lift up your song and watch how the seas can part before you. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.